When you reduce everything down to its simplest, easiest way you can do something, it just frees up mental energy, it frees up time, it just frees up so much in your life so that you can do more of the things that you enjoy.
You might have heard of Atomic Habits by James Clear or Atomic Essays by Dickie Bush and Nicholas Cole. But have you ever heard about atomic newsletters? When you want to start writing online and make money with your words, you're often told to think big, to write long-form stories of 3,000 to 7,000 words. But what if you don't have the time because you're a part-time writer or simply don't want to spend hours writing one? In today's video, I'm thrilled to interview two experts who have mastered the art of atomic newsletters, Evan Kelly and Jamie Northrup. They'll share their insights, experiences, and tips on how to start and monetize your atomic newsletter. So stay tuned and let's explore the power of atomic newsletters together. What inspired you to adopt an atomic minimalist writing style for your writing in general and for your newsletter?
Okay, so for me, it was when COVID hit. My wife informed me that we were going to be having our third baby boy. And for me, it was about scaling back my freelancing so I just had more family time. So I wanted to create a lifestyle where I was basically doing my own thing instead of building businesses, writing emails for other people. So I took that opportunity during the COVID lockdown when things started to get a little bit of slow to look into how can I build something given that I have such little time. And the atomic newsletter approach was just kind of something that for me it manifested itself out of reading about Dickie Bush's and Nicholas Cole's atomic essays, the approach that they took with atomic essays and putting out basically the smallest piece of content that you can to determine what people want from you. And so I've I've been spending the last 20 years in some form of another, like doing copywriting and email marketing. So I just thought, why not apply that same methodology and that same approach to newsletters? And I had seen some people do that with success. Like Jamie had his letter, which was like very concise, very condensed. There was like Josh Spector, another one where it's just like this 1 2 sentence letter email. And it was like, there's something here. There's something worth exploring here. And I more or less took the atomic from the atomic essays, kind of borrowed that term, and just as a way to kind of explain it for myself, what I was doing, and to explain it to other people. So that's kind of how that came to be for me. It was just a combination of like looking at what other people were doing, like Jamie and Josh Spector and others in the newsletter space, and taking little bits and pieces of what worked for me, given that I had limited time. Like I only have maybe 2 hours a day to work on my own business. So it just made sense to do it in the least friction possible is what worked for me. So
Yeah, and
I'll let
Jamie, I guess, was like your biggest inspiration then, Jamie, right? Because
yeah, well,
Evan was
Jamie,
inspired by you and your newsletter.
yeah, well, Jamie was one of the first people I connected with on Twitter when I joined Twitter. I joined Twitter at the end of 2020, December 2020. I think my first tweet was like January 1st, 2021. And it was very quickly at that point, I'm not sure who reached out to who there, but we were in each other's DMs. We connected, and I started to see what he was doing. I really loved like Minimalist Hustler. It's like the best brand name ever, right? Like it so succinctly describes what he's all about. And it was like, this seems like something I should pay attention to because it seems like it might fit my lifestyle, given that I don't have much time. So if I can do something in the minimal amount of time possible, and I just started paying attention to what he was doing, and he was the inspiration really for me. I used to write, these long story-based emails where I tell a story with a little lesson, sell my product or sell an affiliate product. And it was like, let's just try something a little bit different. And I haven't looked back since. So
And Jamie, for you.
Basically started at the end of 2019, I used to have my own web consulting agency, so I built websites, ran, small business websites and email and stuff like that. And it was just getting to the point where I was getting fed up of dealing with all these customers that were upset at all times of the day, or issues. It's not that necessarily the customers were horrible, it's just dealing with other people's issues instead of my own wasn't ideal for me. It was, I was always trying to find a way to leave the corporate world to run my own business, and I thought building websites was going to do that. Financially, it makes sense. But it was like replacing one boss with, 100 bosses, and that to me was unacceptable. So when 2020 started, and one of my resolutions was to try and find ways to make money without having any customers, with, as less stress as possible. And that's where the Minimalist Hustler brand came about. Is, I wanted to find side hustles that had as little commitment, stress, money needed, skills, like just really easy kind of stuff. Simple, easy, but it's still a lot of hard work. It's just it's simple stuff you can do. It's just you got to do it for, repetition, like do it continuously for a long time. You got to be consistent, right? So I started that in 2020. Originally, I wasn't even planning on helping other people do this. I wasn't even going to be a brand that was going to be customer centric. So I was building, as I started with print on demand, and then I went mostly into Amazon KDP, but nothing was branded for Minimalist Hustler. It was all unbranded, assets that were just selling based on keyword research and stuff like that. And that was great. But at the same time, I was on Twitter and making friends with people like Evan and other like-minded people, and that's when I started seeing, well, maybe the problem isn't to having customers so much as to what kind of relationship you have with the customers, so taking the minimalist mindset and adapting it as I go based on what I enjoy doing, what frees up my time. you know Before, now if I have a customer and they're not happy, it's 3 clicks and they're refunded and it's finished. Whereas before, if a customer had a problem with their email or website, it could be hours and hours and hours dealing with whatever, hosting issues or viruses or site hacks and whatnot. So basically it's all been around finding ways to do it in a way that works for me.
And what do you think are the main benefits for your readers then?
We're just not wasting their time, right? It's just, you know, so I'm subscribed. I think I've passed 400 different newsletters right now. There's 200 and some just on Substack alone. The others I haven't counted, but I'm pretty sure it's over 400. And while I do skim a lot of longer form ones, it's very rare I'll read a whole one unless it interests me. Whereas when it's a minimalist, there's probably about 20 or 30 of those that are hitting my inbox almost daily, and I'm not missing any of them. I'm reading through them. I may not be clicking through, but right away I could open it and say, well, this I don't care, this I don't care, this I want to see, this I don't care, this I want to see. And it's just an easy gateway to find information that may be relevant to the reader of the newsletter.
And Evan, for you?
Yeah, so very similar answer to Jamie. Like I'm a very data-driven person. Um, and so the thing is when I send out an atomic newsletter that's just got, one headline of what my article is about, people open up the email and they can tell just on that one sentence, one or two sentences, like, is this something that I want to read? And if it's not, they close their email, delete it, move on. It just saves them time, right? If it is something that they want to read, they click over, they read it, everybody wins, right? So, and that, I've noticed that taking the atomic newsletter approach, my open rates have gone up, my click-through rates have gone up. And it gives me, like on the back end as a creator, it just gives me a better idea of what subject lines, what type of content people are opening, what type of content people are clicking on, so that I can just create more of that content, right? So it's it's just a really easy, simple way to decode and decipher what your audience wants. So, if you once you know what your audience want and you can give that to them on a consistent basis, then that's what's in it for them, right? It doesn't matter what your niche is, it doesn't matter what topics you're discussing. once you have a clear idea of what your readers want, you can just create that content for them. So
Yeah, I love this. You told me already about the headline. What else does an atomic newsletter has, what is essential and what can be omitted?
well, I'm not sure how Jamie's going to respond to this, but for me, it's like really just the headline. And the least amount of words that you can use to convey what the content that they're clicking on is going to be about. The content of the actual newsletter, like the body, is literally just the headline, maybe the subtitle. So if you have a newsletter, if you're creating content on Medium about planting your own backyard garden, right? And maybe you write an article that's how I grow the juiciest, ripest tomatoes in my town or in my city or whatever. It might literally just be how I grow or my secret to growing the ripest tomatoes in XYZ, wherever you're located. That's the headline. Anybody that wants to who wants to grow ripe, juicy tomatoes is going to click the link, right? They're going to want to go read that article. And so I don't put any more into it than I need to get the idea across about what the content is about and if it's right for the reader, right? Jamie, from what I can tell, is just does something very similar. It's just like a more of like a little tease, and I'll let him talk about it. But yeah, just as little as you can put in there. It's usually just a headline, a benefit of some sort. If you're into copywriting and you know how to write bullet points, really like really similar to writing a bullet point, like a headline or a sub headline. That's all you really need to put in the body to communicate what the content is about.
And Demi, what about you?
Yeah, so I think what Evan said there near the end, the benefit is what the key is. So you basically, I'll just go through my newsletter quickly. So you have the title, and then you have a logo, and then I have three things in my newsletter. I always share something that's from me. So it could be a Medium article, it could just be a few words of encouragement or a challenge, or it could be a link to a product, a video. It could be anything that I've created or I'm involved with. There's a link there from me. And then there's a second section where it's from someone else. So it could be from you, Christina, or Evan. And then there's from a sponsor. So the three sections, it's just one sentence each, usually. Maximum 100 characters is what I tell people. So usually that works out to about, 7 to 12 words. And it's just, you want the benefit to be clear to the reader. So you don't want to put something that's clickbait that they're going to get, they're going to click on it and it's not what they expect. You want to be clear to what it is, but you want to show them the benefit. So, and I'll usually link some of the benefit words in the text that links over to whatever I'm linking to. It could be a Medium article, it could be any kind of content, audio, video, written, freebies, lead magnets, all kinds of stuff like that. And then at the very bottom is my signature. So to answer your question though about how long a minimalist newsletter or atomic newsletter could be, there's different, there's no fit standard. I usually like to think that somebody can get through 90% of your newsletter issues in under a minute, then to me that's considered a minimalist newsletter. So, maximum you're looking at is maybe 100, maybe some cases 150 words, but I think under 100 words you're better off. That doesn't include logo and signature and all that. Like the stuff that doesn't change to me, I never include because people look at that the first few times and then they'll use it when they need it, but they won't really pay attention much to it. It's just the content in the middle that has to be short and quick for them.
And how long does it take to write such a newsletter then for you?
5, 10 minutes maybe. The long part is creating is not even, it's creating the other content or the products or whatever I'm doing in the from me section. So that's the longest part, right? So if I want to write a Medium article, then that's the longest part. Putting the newsletter together is just a question of a few minutes.
And Evan, for you too, then?
Well, so for me, it's like like literally 0 minutes because I use the RSS feature in ConvertKit. So anytime I publish, I've got the template created that my ConvertKit pulls from Medium, pulls in the headline, pulls everything. So literally all I have to do is, go into my email and replace the RRS link with my friend link, my Medium friend link. And I may change like the case of the headline, like instead of it being all uppercase, like every word uppercase, I might change that. I may tweak it a little bit, but I have it set up so that it populates. The only thing that it doesn't populate is the issue number. So it has like it's got the number symbol and it's got my headline, which sometimes I change because the headline that it populates, like the subject line that it populates for my email, is basically just the headline of my article. So sometimes I will change that to shorten it up to make it a little bit more curiosity driven or something like that. But I would say I can, by the time I log into ConvertKit and hit send, it's probably 3 to 5 minutes at the most, 5 minutes.
And you're talking about like the email service provider you're using. You both are using ConvertKit now, Kit then for your newsletter?
Well, I am. I think Jamie is too.
Yeah, I am for the daily version. I do use Substack for a weekly version of it, but for the daily version, my main newsletter is ConvertKit or
Hmm.
soon
And Evan,
Kit.
you are now also on Substack. Am I right?
I am. I'm enjoying it too. It seems like it's going to be a neat little place. I'm not sure how old this notes feature is, but
One
I'm
year,
really
one
like,
year. They celebrated in May, their first
okay. Yeah. So
birthday.
like that, like just the fact that they have that and combined with the newsletter aspect, it's improved immensely since the first time I logged in there, which was probably about a year ago. They didn't have this feature when I logged into it. So but yeah, no, it seems good. Seems good. I'm liking it.
And for Jamie, it is like this daily newsletter is coming from Kit, and the weekly newsletter is then coming from Substack. And Evan, for you, there you have your ConvertKit newsletter, your daily one, and then you have a newsletter that has like a different title. Is it a new approach then for you?
Not necessarily, not really. I'm still kind of trying to figure out the direction I want to go with Substack. I've got some ideas, but Substack to be I don't want it to be a mirror of my newsletter. I want to create kind of different content there. I look at Substack as a way to kind of broaden my niche where my atomic newsletter, I have a couple that I'm working on, but my main one, which is newsletter alchemy, teaching people about email marketing and building newsletters. That one is kind of strictly ConvertKit medium, whereas I'm treating Substack as more of a broader writing in general, like about how to that may I may pull from my experience with freelancing, getting clients, things of that nature. Things that I like to talk about, but that don't necessarily fit into the newsletter niche, we'll say. There may be some overlap, but right now there's sort of a separation in my mind, at least, for how I'm going to manage both of them.
You need more practical strategies and actionable advice? Then join my online writing school. Included is the Medium School and the Substack School, and learn more about how to start writing online and to write short form stories. Evan, I know that for your main newsletter, you have like this funnel because you said traditional blogging is dead, leverage blogging is alive and well. What does this mean? And could you tell us a bit more about your funnel, meaning your Kit newsletter and Medium? How are you using this both together?
So, like my funnel is really simple. I think people overcomplicate funnels a lot. Really, for me, the way the Atomic newsletter works is I'll create, a piece of content on Medium that links to my newsletter. So people, if you read an article on Medium, you like what you read, you join the newsletter. Now I can take those subscribers and continue to push them back to Medium to read my content. And, revenue goes up. The more subscribers you get that are Medium members, the more earnings you're going to get because it's kind of like a circle where they're entering, they're entering your newsletter back to Medium. So each newsletter issue is essentially a Medium article. And there is like I do have a funnel where when people come in from like Refined, so I buy ads on Refined. They come in and they go through, they receive a series of articles that I've published, and with a call to action of like a standard, join my community type of thing, right? Like it's really just articles that step by step, that would lead people through the stages of awareness from unaware, problem aware, solution aware. Just kind of take that approach from a copywriting perspective. And once they get to the end of that, it's, the logical choice should be to join my community, right? So the funnel is a typical funnel. It's very simplistic, right? But the key to it for me is just medium to newsletter to medium to newsletter to medium. Just keep pulling in subscribers, keep spitting them back to medium, right? Whereas a traditional newsletter, it's like you get subscribers and then you read the newsletter. Like if people are going to read your newsletter, you may as well make money from it, right? So why not just put your newsletter on Medium or Vocal or Newsbreaker or whatever platform that has these kind of membership programs that's going to pay you, right? So it just seems you can take that money then reinvest it into paid traffic, do all kinds of things with it, and or buy yourself something nice if that's what you want to do. Well, I don't recommend that. I always think you should reinvest back into your business.
Yeah, I'm also a fan of this. And before we're talking about monetization, Jamie, is your funnel as simplistic as it is for Evan then?
Yeah, at the basis it is it's more of a flywheel than a funnel. So like Evan says, newsletter promotes Medium, Medium promotes the newsletter, but I also have books on KDP that promote the newsletter, and the newsletter promotes the book, so it works in that way too. Substack is now inside the flywheel along with Substack Notes. I've had others, like I've used other social media platforms, but I've recently just let them fall away and focus on Substack Notes, because I mean, I've been publishing on Substack the weekly version for almost a year and a half now. And since I started using Notes seriously about a month and a half ago, I've noticed I've almost tripled the amount of subscribers to that newsletter. And I've just recently launched another newsletter on Substack last week, and that's going well as well. It's like, so it's kind of like a no-brainer to leave all the other stuff, X and LinkedIn, aside, and focus on Medium and Substack and my main newsletter.
And the other newsletter, Jamie, what is it about?
So it's called Minimalist Books Weekly, and it's just each week I feature a book. So it's for people that like to read minimalist books, like books under 120 pages, and it also like to publish them. So each week I'll share one book. I'll share one tip of how to create a book, and one tip how to promote a book.
I guess that J.R. Heimbigner inspired you to open this publication then.
Well, I think we've kind of inspired each other over the past 6 months or so. So, we're working on a lot of stuff, talking to each other a lot lately, and he started a 12 books in 12 months project challenge, and I've joined that with. So I'm in a little community with him talking about that, and I just published a second book out of 12 this morning actually. So, it should be live on Amazon hopefully today or tomorrow. And it's been great. I think the minimalist, like I really like, I break out all the minimalist side hustles, but for me, minimalist newsletters and minimalist books are the two that really get to me.
I'd love to know more about how you monetize your atomic newsletters.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people talk about how some people had this idea that you shouldn't monetize right away. Like you should wait till you have a certain amount of subscribers or followers or something. I don't buy into that. Like I think you can monetize like from your very first issue. Like I have my ConvertKit opt-in form put on a card website, and I have Spark Loop set up. So as soon as somebody subscribes, they get paid recommendations where if they join other people's newsletters, I will get, a referral fee for that. So that's like the very first monetization touch point. I could earn anywhere from $1 to $5 or however much those recommendations are paying out. After they approve their, subscription, they go click that link to approve their subscription. They get taken to a bridge page, which is basically just, hey, I have this community. If you want to join it, here's a little discount if you want to come in and see what we're all about. That's the second monetization touch point, right? So before they even receive their first email from me, there's already two opportunities for me to generate income. All right. And then, the newsletter, of course, is sending them to Medium, where that's where I get most of my subscribers from, organic subscribers. So typically they're paying members. They read my articles, any email I send, that's generating more revenue. So, and then of course in a Medium article, you can promote a product, you can promote a course, you can drop an affiliate link in there, you can do all sorts of, nifty little things to generate income. So right away, there's three ways that you can generate income. You throw product into that, you throw coaching if you have any kind of coaching program, and you're off to the races, right? So like I think most people overcomplicate how easy it is to make money with your writing, especially on a platform like Medium and with tools like Sparkloop and affiliate programs with Gumroad and things like that. So those are basically just my monetization methods right there. And I'm in the process, inspired once again by Jamie and JR, of looking at Amazon KDP, because I just see like there's just such a value. I think there's just an amazing opportunity there in the minimalist books. Uh, People, I love reading short books. I have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, so I'm always downloading short reads that I can read on my Kindle. And so I think there's just so much opportunity for new creators to monetize their writing in such a short period of time, with tools like Sparkloop and programs like the Medium Partner Program, that it's just like it's a no-brainer. Like if you want to write online, if you want to be a blogger, if you want to, share your ideas and content with people and build an audience, I don't think that there's a better way to do it than through writing and through writing on these platforms. So
Jamie, how do you see it? Could you share a bit more about your monetization strategies?
Yeah, so actually, the first book that I published in the 12 book challenge I was talking about earlier is a book called How to Monetize Your Email Newsletter, and there's 12 different ways that I go into detail on. But it's my process is very similar to Evan's with the Spark Loop, the Medium Partner Program, as well as a thank you offer, one-time offer once they subscribe. But yeah, for me, it's right from the beginning. I always had a sponsor section in my newsletter from day one, because the way I see it is you want to get the audience you're building, you want to get them used to how you operate. So if I didn't put a sponsor section and then all of a sudden I put one, I may offend some people. Some people may get upset, or or they'll just ignore it. But if I start from the beginning putting a sponsor section and putting, relevant links in there, some people love the sponsor section. It doesn't get as much clicks as my section or the other one, but it's pretty high up there. And one of the ways I found, taking advantage of it, since I didn't have sponsors, was using affiliate links. And that's what you're mentioning about Gumroad is there's a what do you call it? A global affiliate program. You could become an affiliate for somebody directly, and they'll give you whatever they want to give you. But even people that don't want to give you anything through Gumroad, you can get the global affiliate link and get 10% of any sales you bring them. So what I would do a lot is take a freebie off Gumroad, add the global affiliate link to it, and if they didn't click any other affiliate links within the next 30 days, anything else they would buy on Gumroad, whether I promoted it or not, I would get 10%. So that's done pretty well for me over the past few years. It's very similar to Amazon. When you promote something on Amazon, but they end up buying other stuff, you get a commission for that stuff too. Except, Amazon, I think it's only a 24-hour cookie window, whereas Gumroad, it's 30 days. So it's much, much more interesting.
How much money can I make per year or per month with sponsorships and all the other stuff?
So at the end of the day, it kind of depends how you want to monetize it and what you're going to offer. So, for example, you're saying not to count the community, but if your goal is to build a newsletter to monetize only by a community, that's one thing. And then again, you could, do sponsorships only. You could do premium newsletter only. Like you could mix and match. I like to mix and match so many different things. But I mean, it's more about the monetization technique that you use that will determine how much you can make rather than the actual newsletter itself. So, for example, if your only goal is to make money on the partner program on Medium and you do it through growing an atomic newsletter, you know, if you look at the top earners on Medium these days, there's not many of them that are making over, maximum, let's say $2,000 a month. There may be a few exceptions, but there's not. If you're making $2,000 a month on Medium, you're pretty near the top. And so no matter what your newsletter grows, you're likely going to be capped at around $2,000 a month on Medium. Whereas if you're promoting an affiliate program or your own products, then there is no cap. You're basically earning whatever you're earning, and as you grow, you'll be able to sell more and more and more. The same thing with sponsorships. When I started selling sponsorship, I started selling them at I think $10 or $15 per sponsorship. Now I'm selling them at $65 per sponsorship, and I would imagine next year it'll be double, and then you look at somebody like Justin Welsh. I think he's selling them at $3,000 or $4,000 per sponsorship. And I mean, if you do the math on that, if he's selling four and he's doing one a week, or I think does two in each newsletter issue, you're talking about $400,000 a year, right? So, I mean, there's no cap on it. As your audience grows bigger and bigger and bigger, there's ways to keep scaling higher and higher and higher, and it doesn't involve any more work from you because your newsletter is scaling based on the same activities you've been doing since day one. There's not much different between what I'm doing today than what I'm doing at day one in terms of quantity of work, but it's just dedicated different ways. Now Substack notes instead of Twitter, a bit bigger focus on Amazon KDP. But at the end of the day, it's just about continuously growing. Like consistency over time will keep your earnings growing as long as you have a viable monetization strategy.
How are you doing this? I think in the past it was via Gumroad. So could I book a sponsorship in your newsletter via Gumroad then, or how is this sponsorship engine working with your newsletter?
Yeah, so I've moved it away from Gumroad for now. Gumroad did announce that they're gonna have a type of calendar type product to go basically compete with Calendly.
Mm.
That's coming soon. So once that comes, I'll go back there. But right now I'm using Passion Fruit, which has a calendar integrated kind of thing, and it's built for sponsorships, which it's not the ideal platform for me. There's too many steps I find when people want to book, but it's the best one available right now, in my opinion. So basically, I charge $65 for one, and then I have special prices. I don't remember offhand. If you buy two, it's a little bit cheaper. You buy three, all the way up to five, I think. I think five, it ends up being $250 or something like that. So $50 instead of 65 or something similar to that. It basically a little discount each extra one that you book.
Wow. And does this mean that every newsletter, every daily newsletter gets sponsored then?
No, it's about on average right now, it's about one or twice a week. So what happens is you got to decide. So at one point, let's say a few months ago when I was growing quickly, I was charging $40 for a sponsorship slot. But when I didn't have a sponsorship slot, I would put an affiliate link and I would earn more from the affiliate link. So then it didn't make sense. So then you up your sponsorship price, which reduces the amount of people that sponsor, but it doesn't matter because you put affiliate links and you make more money. So it's kind of like you got to determine the right balance for what you're doing. And I don't do any outbound sales for my sponsorships. Like I've never once emailed anybody and said, "Hey, do you want to sponsor me?" Like that's not my style. I don't do any outbound reach for that kind of stuff or for anything really.
And when do you think one could start with offering sponsorships? Do you think you have to have a specific email list size then?
Again, I did it right from the beginning, but I mean when I started my newsletter, I had grown my list to 400 about from through different lead magnets that I had created in the month or so leading up to my launch. But I mean, nobody's going to buy when you have 5 or 10 or 20 subscribers, but there's nothing stopping you from setting it up and starting saying, I think JR has $7, I think I saw, or $10. Somebody has seven, somebody has 10, and they have 100 or 200 subscribers. And, I think getting the flow set up and the space for it and realizing, giving the opportunity to somebody, because sometimes, especially at that price, people may just buy it to thank you for, providing them a service or providing them information that they value. Or, if it's happened in the past where I once shared somebody's Medium article, and then he went on Coffee and sent me, I think he sent me $6 or something because I had shared his article, and I was like, well, I didn't do it to get money. I did it because your article was great and I wanted my audience to see it. So, I mean, I think from right from the beginning, you should set it up and start very low. Start at $5 or $10, and you'll see when you don't have one and you put an affiliate link how much you make. And if you're making 15, 20, $30, then you up the price of the sponsorship, because who cares if you don't sell them, because you're going to make it with the affiliate link regardless.
Yeah, and Evan, do you have anything to add in regard to monetization?
Yeah, no, very similar to Jamie. I've got, there's the main content, and then there is the sponsorship link right underneath, and it's the exact same principle. Like if someone buys a sponsorship slot because they want to promote something to my audience, then they do that through. I have mine set up through ConvertKit, right? So they pay through Stripe. And if I don't have a sponsor, which I don't get many sponsors, I might get one or two. Like, because I'm like Jamie, I don't do any cold outreach. I don't promote the sponsorship thing. Just I get every once in a while, I get people emailing saying, "Hey, do you do sponsorship?" And there's a link down the bottom as well, right? If you want to advertise. But I'll paste sometimes individual Spark Loop links in there. I'll paste affiliate links, like I might promote Jamie's community or an ebook or something like that. Sometimes I may just promote my own community there, right? So my own offer. So I don't stress too much about the sponsorship. If I get a sponsorship slot, that's great. But there's just so many other ways to monetize that sponsorship space that it's not something that I stress out over. Similar to Jamie, I think $75 right now is if you want to, or 50 or 75, I can't even remember, but it's around there if you want to advertise. And typically I'll do more than one. So if someone buys a sponsorship from me, I may promote it. I set up like the I guess a tagging feature. So there's in ConvertKit, there's something called Liquid. It's like a programming language, like where you can set it up so that you can make two offers, right? So like it goes by the logic, like if someone has this tag, show them this snippet. If they don't have that tag, show them this snippet. So let's just say you buy a sponsorship slot from me and I put it in there. I'll tag them with, Christina. Anybody that clicks it. Maybe a month later, after I've got some new subscribers, that will go. I will put it in, like if the first people didn't click, if they don't have the Christina tag, show them the link for Christina's newsletter. If they do have the Christina tag, show them a link for Jamie's community, right? So it's just a way to help people get more clicks that are buying sponsorships from you, while not hammering people that have already been presented with that offer and checked it out, not hammering them with it again too soon. So there's a lot of cool tricks that you can do inside ConvertKit to kind of leverage and maximize how much money you make or how much clicks you get from a link or an offer. And I highly recommend people look at all the nifty little tricks that it can do, because there's a lot of stuff that it can do that people don't know about, right? So, but that's one of the tricks that work. The conditional content is what it's called. So based on certain conditions, tags, and custom fields and things like that, you can show people different offers. If somebody has already purchased a book from you, doesn't make sense to promote that book again, because they're not going to buy it twice unless they're, forgot that they bought it the first time. So you can just present a different offer to them, right?
So would you say that ConvertKit Kit now with also becoming like for 10K subscribers free, would you recommend this? Of course, what I have to mention here is if you do this, then you don't have access to all the automation tools. And I guess if you have,
Actually, yeah,
yeah,
no, you actually do with that 10,000. You get one free automation.
yeah, welcome email, right?
No, I think you can. Now you'll have to double
The
check this.
sequence. I think you
I
get one
think
sequence.
I think you can do one visual sequence. Is that right, Jamie?
I think so. I'm not sure. I didn't really
Yeah.
look into it. There are other drawbacks in that plan that you gotta keep in mind.
Mhm.
There, some branding on your emails. The ConvertKit branding is there, and you have to use the recommendations tools. And one of the recommendation spots is locked. You don't get to choose who you're recommending. So it's got great features, but it's also you got to take things into consideration. So two things. The first I should mention that I'm a ConvertKit brand ambassador. So to answer your question, most of the time I'll say ConvertKit, but it really depends. More and more with the Substack notes, it's kind of hard to not recommend that to the people starting out. So I'll usually see with who I'm dealing with if they think they'll use automation, and if they will, then it's ConvertKit hands down, like no questions asked. And if I don't think they'll get use out of it, then I think Substack is the better tool. I think it also matters how they plan to monetize. So, like if you want to make money through Sparkloop, it's not impossible with Substack, but it's very complicated and not recommended, where it's easier with ConvertKit. If you want to sell premium newsletters, if that's your thing, then Substack, like you said, it is so well made with the discounts and the boosts and all that that it's a no-brainer to go there. Ideally, what I recommend to people is if you're going to do mostly newsletter stuff, then you should start on Substack, but then use ConvertKit for the marketing part of it. So if you've got sequences, if you're making email courses or email challenges or different things like that, then I would use ConvertKit for that. That's usually my answer.
And Evan, for you?
Yeah, I'm not going to add anything to that. I think that that is, I echo that sentiment exactly. Yeah, I'm not a ConvertKit ambassador, but I will say you can't really beat 10,000 free subscribers or free, like for the sort of cons to it. I think the pros outweigh the cons there, especially if you're first starting out and you don't need any crazy advanced automation features where you're moving people in and out of sequence, where like you just want to write a newsletter and send it. I don't think you can go wrong with ConvertKit. If you want uh, a more community social media type feel, Substack obviously looks extremely promising to me. I'm excited to be on there now and writing. So yeah, I think it just really depends on what your goals are, what your vision is for the type of newsletter you want to build. Um, and yeah, just they're both free, so experiment with both, right? Find which one works for you and let the other one fall by the wayside.
Hi, it's Christina God. We all tend to overestimate the importance of single actions and underestimate the power of making small steps repetitively over a long period of time. Real change comes from the compound effects of hundreds of small actions. So my success on Medium, for instance, is based on small actions, meaning that I started writing on a daily basis like 150 words, and this is how I grew from 0 to about 12,000 followers on this platform. And this is also similar to my success on Substack, where I'm also sharing short and sweet content. If you want to learn more about writing short and sweet content, then join my online writing school and the online writing club. The link is included in the show notes. Substack is building there. So it came from writing and all about writers, and now it's creators, and this is what also ConvertKit now wants. So I guess that both will, explode in the next years and become like, let's call it creative hubs or something.
Yeah, it's like a full, they're becoming like full stack creator
Yeah.
platforms is what, and like you throw Beehive into the mix there too. And it's like, I think the level of competition amongst these communities is, these different brands is really ultimately only going to benefit creators moving forward because they're all competing to get creators to use their platform. They're dropping like making things free. Like who would have thought, 5, 10 years ago, 10 years ago, that Substack, like a place to go to start a newsletter for free, right? And there's people on there making 20, $30,000 a month with their newsletters or more,
Even
right?
more.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And so it's like it's just it's like a why anybody would go through the trouble of buying hosting and getting a domain and tinkering with WordPress. It blows my mind, right? Trying to SEO and all this, like just no, no, just go on Substack, go on Medium where people already are, where your audience is already existing and consuming content, and put your stuff in front of them. And I can see ConvertKit probably going a very similar route as Medium and or at least maybe, but I don't know, maybe buying a platform that's like that, right? Like buying a platform like Medium or Vocal or something similar like that to add that kind of social networking element to it. Because I think that's where, when you look at things like TikTok and YouTube, even like on the video side of things, not just the writing side, like they've all got this community feel. And that's kind of what ConvertKit is missing, is like that networking aspect of it. And I think that's what where you're gonna see them go in the future, because I think it's necessary. It's the next evolution of the newsletter space, is to kind of integrate it all into like a social media type network. So
Jamie, what does ConvertKit ambassador mean? I saw on X you were sharing a picture. You got sent, some merch from ConvertKit. Was this like the moment when you became an ambassador for them?
No, that actually came maybe 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 months after that. Um, so I became an ambassador. I don't remember exactly which date, but it was sometime in 2023. And at the time, I think they had just launched their ambassador program and they reached out to a few people. And it's all very informal right now. So it's basically in a group DM on X that we communicate. There are some emails that come through now. I think they're starting to. I mean, it was like a beta program, and now they're starting to like formalize it a little bit more. And so yeah, so I they sent me they actually it's funny because they sent me that box with the book and the t-shirt and some stickers, and then 3 days later I got another box with the same book, no t-shirt this time, but a sticker. So I'm not sure what happened there, but yeah, so basically they let us beta test certain features before everyone else. They tell us of announcements a little bit ahead of time. It's like this 10K newsletter thing. It's been months and months they've been talking about it, and we saw pictures of the sales, the promotional pages, but I'm not sure what held it up, but it got held up a few months, and but it's nothing, you know, there's nothing like really above and beyond that. It's fun to be a part of the group, but to be honest, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to stay on much longer with these feelings for Substack, you know. I've been an affiliate for ConvertKit for almost 3 years now, and they've never required anything out of me. They'll send me emails once in a while saying hey, promote this if you want, it'll be good kind of thing. But there's never been any requirements to do anything. They offer if you want to partner with them to do certain ideas to bring it to them, and they're very open. I think they're very easygoing. They're very like if you have an idea and you bring it to them, there's a good chance that if it makes sense there, they'll do it with you.
And Evan, in the beginning of our interview, you already mentioned Dickie Bush. And I also know that you, in an article, mentioned Josh Spector for the interested. Can you share some of your like favorite minimalist writers or works that have influenced you and your atomic newsletter journey?
oh boy. Well, obviously Jamie is he was the main inspiration for for changing the way I did things. But yeah, I mean, unlike Jamie, I'm subscribed to more newsletters than I can count. Josh Spector's is one that I read quite frequently just because it's so short, and again, you just look at the headline, look at the little blurb, see if it's something that I'm interested in. Mark Thompson has been a tremendous influence. I'm not sure if you know, he's on Medium as well. He's been a tremendous influence. He really helped me. His community really helped me kind of piece together how to go about being a solopreneur, how to move away from the whole freelancing thing, because I really had no experience with building an audience. The companies that I worked for, they were always building audiences, and I just had the right to emails and sell stuff, right? So, um, you know, the whole content marketing side of things, he really helped me with that. Of course, you got people like Dickie Bush and Nicholas Cole that they're so in the space of writing and audience building, and it's AIO or is a real again. He had a I think I purchased a course from him, a medium course from him a long time ago. I don't, but yeah, he's been someone that I've read. I've been following his journey. Tim Denning again is another guy who's just people everybody knows on Medium and Substack because they seem to be everywhere. But I tend to try and stay away from reading too much content that overlaps with the type of thing that I talk about. I try to avoid having those outside influences kind of muddy things up. So a lot of the things that I read are like a lot of the readers that I read are they're not really talking about writing and they're not talking about the things that I'm talking about because I'm just kind of I like to share my own perspective on it and I don't want to bring in too many. But obviously you get inspired by reading from guys like Dickie and Nicholas who built an entire community around atomic essays. It's kind of hard not to be influenced by that, their way they approach things and the way they think about things. So,
And Jamie, for you?
I mean, there's so many of them over the past few years, and it's changed too. There's people that were there at the beginning that are not there anymore, and but Josh Spector has been and continues to be one of my biggest influences, and what my newsletter was basically I tell people it's a baby of Josh Spector's for the Interested and James Clear's 321. Basically, those two newsletters, when I started mine, that's where the inspiration came from. But there's a ton of great newsletters out there, long ones, even like Justin Welsh's Saturday Solopreneur is great. You have minimalist ones. You have Matt Brady with Email FYI, Niche of One from Joe Forrest. JR just restarted one that I really liked. It was Self-Publishing Daily. He had ran it for a couple months and then stopped, but now he restarted on Substack and he always has great resources to share there. But I mean, they're the Intellectualists by Christina and
that's a
Evan.
that's great news. That's one of my favorites right there. I mean, you mentioned Joe and Matt, and they've got great newsletters, but I like Christina's branding is
Yeah,
just she's so good. She's such a good writer.
she
Who
is. And
who's
I mean,
Christina? Who's Christina? Who are you talking about?
Her
Christina Piccoli, I think your last name is it Piccoli,
Yeah,
the blogger?
I'm not sure. I don't want to say her last name because I'm afraid I might mess it up.
Yeah.
But her newsletter is the Intellectualists.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a great newsletter. She's very active on Medium, and she's on Substack as well now too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, she's great. Her content is great. Her newsletter, everything is on brand, and the stuff she shares is so relatable, and it's great. And I mean, and I also have to give a shout out to Evan here. If it wasn't the only reason I even started on Medium back in I think it was the end of 2021 is because of Evan. He had a Medium course, and it led to our whole relationship developing, and all the money I've made on Medium since then. It's credit to that too. So there's been a lot of people in the whole way, and it's great people, and I'm looking forward to continuing with those people and finding new people, along the way too.
What do you think about like investing your money, or what do you do with your money you are earning with your Atomic newsletter?
so yeah, so every last penny is reinvested at this point back into my business. So I'm treating it like a startup, like a SaaS startup, right? Like anything you make should either go into education, like that may be a course or like a books or something to help you improve your skills, marketing, whatever, into a community. If you can, if there's a community of people that, are on the same path that you're on, and into paid advertising, like buying sponsor, like going to Jamie and saying, "Hey, Jamie, let me buy a slot in your news." Going to newsletters that are in your niche that are relevant, like that already have built audiences that are talking about what and saying, listen, I'll give you $200 if you mention my brand or link to my brand. Going to YouTube creators, I'll give you however much, how much do you want, right? So um, I think with like I'm most of mine go into refined ads, and I'm currently saving up a big chunk because I wanna purchase the Spark. I want to get into the Spark Loop advertising and have those newsletters recommend me through Spark Loop. And I think you need a minimum of 2,000 per month there. So I'm trying to get it up so that I got a good 6, 7 months of just money that's just growing, growing my newsletter. Because the bigger your newsletter grows, the more money you make, the more money you have to invest. And it's just, this is like this paid growth flywheel that you just keeps making you grow bigger and earn more so that you can get to a point where when you finally start taking money out of your business, um, you're not putting yourself at a disadvantage, right? I think the biggest mistake that most people make is they go on Medium, they make $500-600 a month, and then let me go out and buy a new TV with it, or let me go and buy this thing that I've kind of had my eye on, right? If you're buying yourself a new computer so that you can sit down and write, great. That's maybe I'll give you a pass on that one, right? If you really think you need a new computer, but my computer is 7 years old and it's working great. So, yeah, reinvest, save up that money, reinvest it back into your business. Treat it like, don't become an employee of your business where you're just taking a paycheck. Become the CEO of your business where you're actively using the money you're making to grow your business and ultimately make more money to support your lifestyle, right? I think that's the biggest takeaway that if you're if you're starting a newsletter, you're getting ready to join the creator economy, whether it's YouTube, Substack, wherever. Just take that money, even letting it sit. I think even letting it sit in a savings account is a mistake, right? Just put it to work for you to get yourself more readers, more subscribers, more customers, and be smart. Be smart.
And Jamie, for you?
I mean, I agree with what Evan's saying 100%. You should definitely be reinvesting, if not all of it, at least a good portion of it. I think what's more important than that is determining your goals first and then acting accordingly. So, I mean, if you're starting this newsletter to get a little bit extra spending money, then and that's your only goal throughout it, and not you don't need to scale or don't want to scale, then go ahead and spend the money. You can scale without investing. It's just a lot longer process. So it has to align with your goals. You could 50-50 it, half goes back in, half goes to you. Whatever your situation is, just make sure that you know what the consequences are of either investing it or not investing it and what that could do for your goals. But yeah, I mean, Spark Loop is where if I do refined ads as well, like Evan, but I'm also saving up to go into Spark Loop, because I think that's the best place right now where you could control the quality in terms of engagement of the subscribers that you pay for. So I think that's very key. But other than that, I've stopped buying courses quite a while ago. I do pay for communities. I think that's a better use of my money because I'm not gonna say I don't need courses, but it's when you get a course, a lot of the times you're gonna get a lot of information that you don't need, especially when you've done it already. You've been doing what you're doing for 2 years, so you're wasting a lot of time. Where in a community you have access to people. Some people are ahead of you, some people are behind you, some people are at the same level, but you can learn from all of them because at the end of the day, it's about their perspective. So somebody that just started could have a better idea than somebody that's been doing it for 10 years and vice versa. And in community, you get all of that. So, I've joined your community, Christine. I'm in Evan's community. I have my own community. I mean, I'm in, I think, 4 or 5 other ones. It's a little hard sometimes to stay active, especially when they're on different platforms. So I try and stick to the same platform so that I don't have to be jumping all the time, and learning the user interface, how it works and all that. But yeah, I'd say between Spark Loop and communities, that's where I would invest my budget. And if you want to outsource creating assets to sell. I wouldn't outsource writing, but you could definitely outsource, print on demand designs or printables or book covers or, stuff like that is good investment as well.
Oh, and you would outsource writing then?
No, not outsource writing.
Not outsource
Everything
writing.
except writing. Yeah. I
I
would
see.
never, I mean, I'm not against people that outsource writing, but I would never be able to do that for my brand because I care too much about my brand and it's all built on me. So I get people all the time being like, "Hey, can I tweet for you or can I do Instagram for you?" No, like I want control. I'm a control freak, so when it comes to my brand, I need to have control. And it's not to say that I wouldn't outsource writing for something that's not in my brand if I'm doing something for a different brand or something like that, maybe. But for me, with my name on it, never.
So
Yeah, I know.
I have,
So, yeah.
I have an interesting story about that actually, and I actually published a Medium article about it because,
Uh-huh.
like Jamie, you often get cold DMs on Twitter, people sliding in saying, "Hey, I like your newsletter. Can I write for?" And so before I went the atomic route, I was doing like more story-based emails where I would, tell a story, link it to a lesson, and then promote a product. And so I had an email copywriter reach out to me, and I'm like Jamie, it's like that's the one thing that I don't think a writer should outsource. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this person a chance. And however, I'm not going to change a word of his copy. I'm going to send the email as is, and then I'll just write a story about the results, and which is what I did. But it was, I think it was the one email that generated the most unsubscribes I had ever had. It didn't generate any sales. It didn't reflect the product at all. So it was like I stuck to my commitment and published it and sent it. But if I had my time back, I would have just been like, no, this is not worth it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally get this. This is all like about personality and authenticity. And did you somehow onboarded this person?
No, they snuck into my DMs and they made the pitch about writing an email and I more or less just did it for the story, right? Like I did it for the Medium story. So that Medium story probably earned me a little bit of money, but in the end it burnt a little bit of goodwill that I had built up just from creating my own content. And of course, anybody that stuck around knows that it was an experiment and that the email, because the very next day I said yesterday's email wasn't written by me and here's the story to document it. But anybody that unsubscribed didn't know that. They were just like, wow, the quality really went downhill.
Do you let AI somehow help you with your writing, or do you generate images via AI? And do you think AI can help you with writing or creating atomic newsletters?
I mean, I don't use AI to write content, but I use AI to sometimes help me outline content. So, or generate ideas. So I created a custom GPT because I found like when I'm generating ideas, I often do the same thing over and over in Chat GPT, right? If I go in there to try to generate something to write. So I've set it up so that let's say I want to write an article about I mean, I don't know how to grow on Substack yet, but let's just say I write an article about how to grow on Substack. I've got it set up so that it will generate the headline, it will give me a little hook and generate like three subpoints, right? So then I'll look at that and I'll be like, yeah, I don't really know how to talk about that, or I don't think that that's a good subpoint, and I might ask it, do it again, run it again, and it generates a relevant image for me, so it kind of gives me the bones or the outline of the content. I find it works better for me if I know what I want to write about. So I'll say, okay, here's my headline, and here are the 3 points that I want to talk about. Instead of having the AI generate the 3 points, I will fill in the 3 points and have it generate just kind of okay, like structure it this way. So it's more or less the structure and how to structure within the different paragraphs. So it gives me, when I sit down to write, I can just kind of copy and paste that into Medium and sort of, it gives me the flow of how I want to write the article instead of actually the content, right? It's just the outline and then that's it. Um, Maybe if I'm doing like a list type like 10, like give me 10 tips to become a better writer, then I might take those 10 tips and I'll scrap I'll scrap the additional details and just take the main points and then put it in my own words. I would never let AI, I don't think it's there yet in terms of making it sound human, making get the little nuances that make writing addictive. I don't think AI has it down yet. There's no the humanity is not there, obviously. So I think that that little personal human touch, personal anecdotes and things like that, it doesn't know your life, so it can't insert an anecdote that's particularly relevant into an article if you're putting an anecdote in there. So I would never use it to write. And a Medium now has like very stringent rules against AI writing anyway. So it's not going to serve you if you're looking at Medium or Substack to use AI. I think they're going to be cracking down on that. So I would never, I don't recommend it.
Would you recommend then AI for people who want to embrace this minimalist writing idea?
Yeah. So like it's funny you should mention the video because I found this service, this SaaS called Auto Shorts. And I'm not active on TikTok. I'm not active on YouTube, but I've set up this account as running an experiment where I feed this Auto Shorts program. Okay, these are the topics that I want to talk about every day. Auto create a video that gives a writing tip or something like that, and it just does it automatically. Posts it to TikTok. I don't have to do anything. I just give it the prompt one time, and it's every day. It cranks out a new video. And it seems like it's bringing me a little bit of traffic. And, I check the video beforehand to make sure that the quality is, like, is this a good little video? Is it something that is it something that I would write, so to speak? And I may change it if it's not quite up to par, but more or less just been letting it do its own thing. And it's getting me followers on TikTok and it's sending people to my website. So we'll see how it if the return on investment is good after a couple of months, if it's worth keeping. But I mean, it's evolving so fast that I think that it's only a matter of time before people can give a couple of prompts and it cranks out a book that's, can rival Stephen King or something, right? So we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and talking about books, Jamie, with your newsletter and all the atomic 12 books per year, do you use AI in some way? And do you also use it for images or videos then?
I barely use it at all. Not because I'm against it or anything like that. One, for the writing part of it, again, I really want it to be my voice. I have used it in the same way that Evan did, not for outlines, but for lists. So if I'm making a list of, like yesterday, I made a list of 20 minimalist products that you could create. Okay. So what I did is I asked GPT to give me a list of 50 of them. And then I went through them, found some that I liked, some I didn't, but it is just a list. There's no writing involved. There's no like subtext or anything like that. So in that sense, I'll use it here and there for lists. I've used it for images. A lot of my earlier Medium stories have AI generated images. They're all captioned accordingly. But now I use I'm sure you've seen it, the typical black, or if it's in my publication, the goldish brownish color for my images. So like the background image really isn't very relevant. So there's no point. And I've used AI a few times, but after that I gave up because I'm like, there's no real point. Um, my kids are finishing school next week. They have a few weeks of summer camp, and then after that, my oldest, I'm gonna get him to start a brand, an anonymous brand, because I'm not putting his face and name out there, but that he's gonna use AI to generate pictures and videos and text and writing and see how that could work out for him. And you know, we're gonna do some tests on that and see how that goes. But it won't be at all related to Minimalist Hustler or anything like that.
Cool. And one more thing about the newsletter in general. Evan told us that you can then say, this is newsletter number 230. And I think for Jamie, for you, it's like 600 or something. 800.
836 maybe I think today or something like that.
Crazy. Okay. Would you recommend someone to then use these numbers? Because, for instance, I don't recommend this for weekly newsletters. I say that you have to go with a title. But would you recommend this for daily newsletter to show, every single day I show up and I send my newsletter?
I definitely recommend it for two reasons. One, it gives sort of social proof in terms of, this is you've had 800 of these. But more importantly than that is I've started numbering them for me to see how many I've done, how many days I've been consistent. It's a psychological thing, it's like, one, I don't want to break my streak. I don't want to stop. I want to get to 1,000. I want to get to 10,000. I want to keep going, right? So to me, that's motivation. It helps me stay consistent. And to be honest, I think 99% of people don't, it doesn't matter either way. I'm never not opening a newsletter because the subject has a number in it. Most of the time, you're opening it because of who the sender is, and then sometimes because of the subject.
You want to explore the power of atomic newsletters together with me and Jamie and Evan, then join our live session inside the online writing school. I see you there. So I have some rapid fire questions for you now. I'd like to know, how has this minimalist writing approach influenced your thinking or lifestyle outside of writing?
Outside of writing, I mean, I've always been somewhat of a minimalist outside of writing before I became so inside of writing, but I think it's helped me be even better at it. It's helped me understand that being a minimalist for a lot of people is just like, oh, how little things can I have to survive? Can I survive with 300 things and nothing else? But at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's about doing it your way on your terms, and having freedom of space, freedom of, mental clarity, and just, when you come to our house, everything is a lot different than it was 10 or 15 years ago in terms of how much open space there is, how less clutter there is. We were never like cluttered people anyways, but it's even more, it helps you think, it helps you relax, unwind. It's a much less stress environment.
And Evan, for you?
Yeah, I would say much the same. It's just when you reduce things down to like the essentials and you cut out all the nonsense that really doesn't move the needle in your business or in your life, it's like a weight gets taken off your shoulders. Like when all I have to do is sit down and write an article and then hit publish and then go over and send it. Like when you reduce everything down to its simplest possible, easiest way you can do something, it just frees up mental energy, it frees up time, it just frees up so much in your life so that you can do more of the things that you enjoy. And so yeah, when I look at the atomic, how I run my atomic newsletter and transfer that onto my life, right? Cutting out all the unnecessary things that don't really matter. It just frees up so much more time and it frees up so much more mental space, right? So I would challenge anybody to find an easier way to run a newsletter than the minimalist way. I don't think it exists.
And talking about time, Evan, you mentioned that you only spend, a few minutes writing and sending your newsletter. But how much time do you spend thinking about your newsletter business?
I'm always kind of thinking about it in the back of my head, thinking about ideas. And if I go on a walk, it's listening to a podcast, or even if I'm just out pushing around my lawnmower, cutting my grass, right? I'm always ideating and thinking about what can I experiment with? What can I try? And maybe I should write an article about this, or maybe I should do this experiment. So that's always kind of going on. You're always kind of thinking about things you can do in your business. Um, but you know that when it's time to sit down and actually write, like when it's time to actually sit down and work on your business, like knowing what you're doing, it just makes it a lot easier, right? It makes that the ideas that you generate when you're thinking about it, it just makes it easier to put it on the page or put it on in a video or put it, you know, whatever you're creating, just makes it easier to do that. So
And percentage, do you think like you spend 50% of your day thinking about your newsletter business? Do you have so much time thinking about to think about it with your kids and everything going on?
I don't know, 50% might be a little high. 50%, maybe 30, maybe 40.
Hmm?
I don't know. I don't know if I spend half my day because typically, you know, I've got a 3 hour window where right now my youngest son is taking his nap. So I've got this 3 hour window every day between like noon and 3 p.m. where I get to sit down and write and actually work on my business. Um, and so, you know, once he wakes up, once the kids come home from school, it's until the time they go to bed, there's not much time to think about anything, right? So it's only maybe those last few hours at night after the kids go to bed and I get to sit down and kind of relax. I might, you know, read something or, you know, think about something or populate an idea, pull out my phone and jot down a note or something. But yeah, I would probably put it at 35, 40% of my day goes into my business.
And for you, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean it's I'm what I like to say I'm a gap writer, but I'm also a gap thinker. So it depends on what's going on a given day, right? So if there's nothing especially going on, then there's a 90% chance that I'm thinking about the newsletter and my business and all that. Overall, I would probably say if you take out, you know, the 7, 8 hours of sleep and you take out the time I spend at hockey and the time I spend with my family, I would say about 25% probably of the time. 25 to 30 would be somewhere where I would estimate it.
Coffee. Is coffee also part of your life? Because I know from Evan, he said that if black coffee didn't exist, I would malfunction at exactly like 5:17 p.m. every day. So is this the same with you?
So it's a little bit different. I don't want to call it coffee because then the people like Evan are gonna come at me and with their pitchforks and get all upset. So I drink two things. One during the day, I'm usually drinking Coke, and I drink what's called here iced cappuccino. So it's basically mostly sugar and cream and ice with a little bit of coffee in it. Yeah, so that's usually I'll have one of those every morning, and then after that, around lunchtime, Coke, and then maybe have another iced cappuccino at night before bed.
And Evan, for you, it's coffee and coffee infusion, or what do you do?
Well, I'm more of a purist. I don't contaminate my coffee. It's got to be black, no sugar, no cream. I just had my fourth at the beginning of this interview. I finished my fourth cup, and that's a little on the high side for me. I usually about 2 cups of coffee a day, but on a day like today where I don't get much of a time to lay down and maybe take a nap, because you know I say I have 3 hours between 12 and 3 where my youngest son is napping. Only about half of that is actually doing work. The other half I like to take down and close my eyes and take a little snooze. So yeah, I'm coffee. If it's not coffee, or I've got to also like Soda Stream. I like Soda Stream, so I'll Soda Stream water and black coffee. That's it. I don't drink anything else. So
I also know that you love Jack Reacher novels.
I do. I do
Yeah.
love
So,
enough.
do you can recommend any books for people who want to build their atomic newsletter business, or any books that can inspire, writing in a minimalistic way?
I will say that if you're a writer, like if your business is like if you're going to create a writing centric business, like a newsletter and blogging on a place like Medium or Substack, read one or two writing books like about writing and then read fiction. Like don't concern yourself with like if you want to learn how to be a good writer, like fiction is the best possible thing that you can read, I think. An author like Lee Child, who writes like the Jack Reacher novels, he has a really simple, straightforward style where like it's just really engaging. When you start to see how fiction writer, like take a book like The Da Vinci Code, right? Which is just like say what you want about it, like what your beliefs are, push those aside and just look at the way it's written. Like it's a page turner, right? And if you can learn how to do that in nonfiction writing and in your content, where like you're keeping people engaged and keeping them reading, the best place to do that is like study copywriting or read fiction. Reading a book on writing, maybe read one or two, but I wouldn't really bother with it. I would just look at the way good writers write.
And Jamie, for you, any tips?
Yeah, so I'm the polar opposite, right? I read in my adult life, I've only read one fiction book, and I didn't even know it was fiction until about a month after I read it. But it was probably the best book I've ever read in my life, and I haven't read any more fiction since then. But that was The Money Tree by Chris Gilbo. He's he does a lot of the side hustle books. That's why I assumed it was nonfiction like all his other books, but it came out I think the week after everything went on lockdown for the pandemic, and it didn't get as much. Usually he does book tours and all that, but he didn't do any of it because of the pandemic, so it didn't really go up the bestsellers list as all his other books did. But yeah, I'm not a big reader. To get through most books, it's usually part of a challenge where I'm reading 5 or 10 pages a day, and even that I gotta force myself to do because I don't necessarily enjoy it. Until a few months ago when I started reading these short books, and that's one thing I'm looking forward to trying is finding some short fiction books, so minimalist books as I call under 120 pages, and seeing if I could enjoy those a bit more because while I can't read more than 5 or 10 pages of a 300-page book, I could sit down and read a 40, 60-page book in, an hour or two and get through it and enjoy it. So maybe that'll lead to me enjoying bigger books down the road, but right now I'd like to stick to minimalist books.
And what's your favorite thing to do with your kids, Jamie?
My favorite thing is to play hockey. They're both hockey players. I was a hockey player. I coached them both and their teams, and whether we're playing mini hockey in the basement, street hockey outside, or we've rented the rink somewhere and playing on ice, it's all hockey.
And Evan?
Yeah, just sit down, watch a nice family movie, chill out in our backyard. That's nice. That's the life right there. That's what I want more of. So that's why I have a newsletter.
Oh, sweet. I'm interested whether you also want to really, have your own company and yeah, what your goals are for 2024 and 2025 then.
Yeah, so for me, I'm like the whole reason why I started my own newsletter and started my own kind of writing thing is because I've been doing the freelancing thing for way too long. And when you have three kids, it's tough. Maybe some people can do it. I can't. I just really can't do it. Some people are good at separating and compartmentalizing their work life and their home life. It's just not I just can't do it. And so for me, it's about replacing that income with writing and with a newsletter in my community and my own thing, so that I can just have more freedom. If I could get to a point where I work on, a newsletter or writing or creating content for 3, 4 hours a day, and then just that's it, that's the ideal for me. So I've replaced one client right now. I mean, it doesn't, three clients at $3,000, that's a six-figure business right there, six-figure freelancing business. So it's not hard to become a freelancer and to make good money freelancing. But when you have a young family, it's tough to maintain it and keep your sanity. So for me, it's just about scaling my newsletter to the point where I can completely step away from trading my time for money.
And Jamie, for you, similar approach, idea?
Yeah, I gave up freelancing and consulting and all that in 2020, even though I didn't have the income to replace the income that I lost, but I still had a 9 to 5 back then. I got laid off from my 9 to 5 last year after 19 years and decided that, so be it, and let's double down on this thing here. So I'm doing that. I'm not sure I want to formalize the company. I'm enjoying, just doing it under my name and I do my own taxes, so I don't really, I like keeping things simple. Things work. I don't mess around with them too much, but you never know what's coming down. My main goal is basically to get through the 12 books and 12-month challenge, and then reevaluating how it went, and see, maybe I'll continue doing a book a month from there, and see how things go.
Yeah. So, Evan and Jamie, thank you so much for our interview. It was delightful.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you
Thank you,
for
Christina.
having me.
Oh, before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so never miss an update. See you in the next video.